Hello and welcome to Patched. I'm your host Paul James. Today I'm joined by Matto Phillips. How's things, mate?
Oh yeah, good, great, super.
Dashing, even.
Dash? No, I'm not going there.
Yeah, we've got Twitter. We've got Twitter for that. All right, so we're kicking off one of, I guess, 3 episodes that'll all be upcoming. We put together a little a plan of kind of the scheduling of these. I don't know if that'll get upset a little bit by the Xbox showcase that's next week, but we'll work that out after we finish this episode today. We're doing a whole bunch of previews, 2024 previews for each of the big 3 console manufacturers: PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo. Each of them are going to have big years for a variety of different reasons, I'm sure. We're going to kick things off with PlayStation today, though, not because I'm biased, but just because it was safe to kind of get them out of the way.
But it's also the fact too that we've got stuff to talk about for Sony, where Xbox, maybe in a week or so time when they have their whatever they're going to show,
developers direct and all the stuff they've got there. It's going to be a good show.
Nintendo. Surprising from Xbox. I can't believe we're in 2024 and we're saying, "Oh, Xbox is going to have a good show."
It almost feels like we're making the wrong decision to do PlayStation first. Like, it feels like, Xbox, and then let them have their showcase, and then we can get no, actually, we're kind of screwed either way. The showcase needed to be a week earlier, and then we could have kicked off with Xbox. But because apparently there's PlayStation State of Plays and Nintendo Directs all lined up for February as well. But we'll just have to play it by ear.
That's too far away.
The main reason we're kind of kicking off with PlayStation is the fact that I think it was after we finished doing shows for the year last year. Basically the Insomniac hack occurred. Now, I guess I'll put it first and up front for people. We are going to discuss some of the things that were there, not story spoilers for things like Wolverine and stuff that were there, nor will we speak about spoilers for Spider-Man 2 and games that are already out that narratively might not connect to other stuff that's going on. But we'll talk about what was there and then try and use that information to kind of underpin the stuff. Because, Matto, I guess I'll let you speak for yourself. But personally, I just don't think, like, if we're going to be making predictions and that sort of stuff, and this information's out there, it's awful that the information is out there, of course, especially the personal details for a whole bunch of employees, from passports to potentially right down to addresses and bank account details and all sorts of horrible stuff that hopefully doesn't get touched by anyone. But to kind of, I guess, put our heads in the sand about the game stuff, knowing that stuff's out there and just pretending like it doesn't exist, I don't think actually helps the conversation we're trying to have, because we're deliberately being ignorant at that point. So, Insomniac, I guess what we've learned... Oh, actually, sorry, Matt, yeah, I guess Matto disagree with that sort of sentiment?
No, I agree. Yeah.
Where did you want to start when it comes to all things Insomniac? Was there anything in particular that really took your fancy or, I guess, caught your interest in any way?
Not really, because they're just games you look at and go, yeah, I know, they make those games. I don't really care. Like, people are getting upset going, oh, but it's not coming out till so-and-so. You think, so what? There's other games to play between now and 2030. Plenty of games to play between now and 2030. So if you got problems of the next Spider-Man coming out in 2030, you've got problems.
Yeah, pretty much.
Go play Pokemon or something. Go play, I don't know, some old games. Go play Nintendo. I don't care.
And look,
go fill in some time.
I understand it for those who, like, Spider-Man is the only thing you care about or whatever. Like, that, I guess is a valid kind of concern. But at the same time, it's not like the studio's doing nothing in the meantime.
No, they're not.
Like, their roadmap was... I guess there's a few different roadmaps that are kind of kicking around. The one I went to go click on is... got a 404 error. It's clearly gone.
Yeah, I think all that Reddit stuff's just gone. It doesn't exist. I think there was one there.
But anyway, I guess, like, what we've kind of learned is that there's a Venom game on the way, and that's actually due to come out before Wolverine comes out. Wolverine being further behind than I think we had perhaps ever expected after it was announced in 2021. Miles came out.
I'll say 21. Yeah, I'll say 21.
Would check out.
So because we're all expected to come out this year.
Yeah.
And it's not. And so it'll be next year, the year after. Who knows? But we haven't really said anything, so I don't really care.
Pretty much. So I found it now. Thanks, internet.
Good old internet.
Oh no, that's clearly out of date because it's got Wolverine and not Venom. I'll go back to this other one that's definitely not legit, but certainly matches with the information I'd seen multiple times. So yeah, Venom's slated to come out in 2025, which I guess, and it didn't necessarily twig at the time, but it probably should have. Spoilers, I guess, temporarily here for Spider-Man 2. There's a sequence where you play as Venom. Um,
It's very, very. You don't play it for very long, but you do play a little bit
but also
as
he's got like
Venom.
a really full, like it's not just it's Spider-Man or Miles mechanics just slapped in a big hulking character. Like it's a
No, it's an
full
actual.
skill set. If you didn't know any better, that you'd think there's a whole skill tree behind the whole thing. Like everything's kind of really carefully plotted out, like that there was another game that they were designing Venom for coming. Um, so I guess that kind of makes a bit of sense when you hear it. But yeah, Venom slated for 2025. Wolverine's due to arrive in 2026. Spider-Man 3 in 2028. Ratchet 2029, and then potentially the first of a few X-Men games in 2030. Um, Now, yeah, I guess to your point, anyone who's kind of complaining, oh my god, I got to wait till 2028 for Spider-Man 3 or whatever, like you got to dial it down. Like you can't just make them into. I mean, look, they've become a Marvel factory, which I don't love. I guess we'll get to that in a sec though. But like they've got to keep changing things up a little bit, and so kind of bouncing from characters to characters is cool. They'd already announced Wolverine a long time ago, so you always knew that Spider-Man 3 was going to have to come sometime after that. Um, and I guess we're at 2024 now. It's 4 years away. It's not that bad,
Not
considering
that bad.
considering getting two games in the middle. And Venom is a Spider-Man spin-off anyway, so you really get to still kind of immerse yourself in that universe anyway. So
And also, what Spider-Man came out in, is it 2017, 2018?
2018,
So 4 years.
and
You
then
had to wait for.
well, I guess people say, well, Miles came out in the middle, so they've had a gap of 2 years, a gap of 3 years, and now a gap of 5. But yeah, they got to chill out. Venom's in the middle, Wolverine's in the middle. You're going to be eating well. Did you have any thoughts, I guess, on their timeline specifically?
Not really, because who knows if that timeline's be an Insomniac. Probably the timelines will be accurate. If it was anyone else, who knows? Because that could have been delayed for a year. And that makes things worse because they're seeing this and going, oh, something like Wolverine's meant to come out in 2026 and it gets delayed by a year. And then people are going to be upset because, oh, they're expected to come out in 2026
And it slips to
and it
2027
doesn't.
all of a sudden. Yeah, it's
And they're going to, it's the whole reason why Cyberpunk was a mess, because it got leaked really early. And then just the pressure of, oh, when's it coming out? When's it coming out? When's it coming out? And they go, right, here's the date. And it wasn't great. And then the same with God of War Ragnarok. People are getting upset, so they're getting angry at developers saying, hey, when's it coming out? And just harassing developers, writers, and this. And then Corey had to come in and go, hey, you got problems? Aim them at me. Leave my team alone.
and Corey will fight you.
He will.
I'd love to see Corey.
And then he
fight
said,
someone.
right, here's your date. Now shut up.
The other thing actually in the roadmap is also that there's a new IP that they're planning for 2031, 2032, somewhere in that ballpark. So even close to 10 years from now, that's starting to get a little bit. We don't quite know when this thing's going to drop, but everything else they can kind of plot out, and a lot of that's because it's linked in with Marvel. So there's contracts. I don't know if you looked at some of the financial things in some of the financial reports that are there and some of their agreements with Marvel. It's insane the amount of money that they still have to give to Marvel to be able to do this in the first place, and how much money they're actually losing to that just to be able to make these games. It's kind of crazy, and actually makes me question how Xbox can make Blade work if there's a similar sort of financial agreement in place. And I'm sure it's probably a little bit different because Spider-Man is magnitudes bigger than what Blade is, but if they've got a similar sort of deal in place, but then Xbox doesn't expect to really make too much money on this thing because it'll just go into Game Pass. It's a weird sort of circumstance, and I'd be curious to see how they can kind of justify something like that, unless it does end up going multi-platform, which has been the speculation for Blade for a while now, and probably added to with some of the recent stuff that's been bubbling up. But how are you feeling about the fact that, with the exception of Ratchet and then eventually an IP in like 9 years from now, give or take, how are you feeling about the fact that Insomniac is just about to become a Marvel factory for a while?
Kinda sucks because what games we won't see? We won't see a Resistance game? Is that that's
Yeah,
officially dead, or maybe that's the hidden IP that no one's talking about.
Absolutely
But
no.
I
No,
don't
it says
think
it's a new
absolutely
IP,
not.
so no chance.
New IP. Okay, no chance. So anything of a new Resistance game is, I'm pretty sure, not happening.
I'm gonna see if I can find the thing about finances and see if that one's not been.
I think it's banned. I tried to check that before. It was no
I guess
for
the
you.
original Resistance sold like 4 million copies. That was a launch title. Resistance 2 was like 2.8, and Resistance 3 was about 1 point something million. And this is at a point where there was 70, 80 million PS3s out there. So, and they were, and this it's a little known thing, but they were going to be working. They were working on a fourth Resistance until Sony said no. Like they were starting to kind of plot it all out whilst finishing up Resistance 3. Sony said no, and so they changed the ending to put a bit of a bow on Resistance 3 and basically wrap up the franchise at that point. So, yeah, we're not going to be seeing Resistance for a while.
But it's going to be interesting to see too, because the old Marvel films, no one sort of is stopping. No one cares about them anymore. So it's going to be a question of, are people going to care about Marvel games in so many years' time? Unless it's Spider-Man. Everyone likes Spider-Man, but anything else, people will be going, don't really care. I'm over Marvel stuff. As that's what's happening now with all the movies. People are just going, I don't know what's going on anymore. There's too much stuff going on. I'm going to watch a normal movie for the first time in 10 years. Yeah. And then people are realizing, going, oh, wow, these normal movies are fantastic. Like, no, they've always been good. They've always been good. You just go and watch silly cartoons in real life instead of just watching a movie in real life.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed. It's just people.
You just went away for a while.
You just went away for like 10 years and completely forgot about them, came back and thought, wow, this is great. Yeah. This non-Disney film is fantastic. I know. Most of them are. It's shocking.
In fact, some of the Disney ones are the worst. Look what happened. Look what's happened to Star Wars. It's just been a bit of a decline outside of Rogue One.
And look at Pirates of the Caribbean. To be honest, here's a fun fact for you. None of them have been good.
Oh, bullshit.
They've all been...
The first movie's great.
First one. Okay, first one's good. Anything after that, you scratch your head and go, I don't understand what's going on. Especially the fourth one. That's just... The Spaniards just turn up out of nowhere, out of the fog. Not even in the movie at all. They just turn up and then just piss off and never see them again. And you scratch your head and go, why? Why are the Spaniards there for? How did they get there? Why are they here? And then they just go, and you never see them again.
Yeah, it's
a weird one.
It's a weird
one. Absolutely weird one.
Yeah, I kind of hate that it's becoming a Marvel factory.
But we all say about the whole Disney thing, there's going to be some cracking, the whatever that stupid Mickey Mouse character is called, the black and white one that went into the public domain. Steamboat Willie. There's going to be some cracking games with Steamboat Willie coming out.
Look out. Well, I mean, there was one that was announced on the very first
the first-person shooter one. It was the first-person shooter one.
Infection 66 or something like that.
Oh, yeah, the horror one. Then there was a first-person shooter one. I thought, I would 100% buy that game. It looks great. I know the one, it just looks like, Mickey Mouse on ice. And not the skating type.
Infestation. Infestation. Origins. I don't know where 66 came from. But anyway. Infestation Origins. Yeah, that's pretty gross. So yeah, I'm kind of disappointed that it's going to become a bit of a Marvel factory, especially when you kind of add in the fact that there's going to be other studios doing other Marvel-based stuff, like Bethesda, which studio is it again that's doing Arcane? Arcane's doing Blade, and you'll see other stuff pop up as well. EA's working on Iron Man and potentially Black Panther as well. Like, there's just too much.
And people are going to get bored and they're going to say, I don't want to buy it. But it's saying that too. People buy Call of Duty every year and it's the same rubbish game.
I think if the quality is going to be there, people keep buying it. Look, I won't lie. I'll probably keep buying them as well. Like, I'll play them as well. But there'll be a lot of me sitting back going, oh, but this could have been this or this could have been that. I think about all the things that Insomniac that it could have been, let alone...
Why couldn't it be a Resistance game?
For starters, but yeah, it's... Anyway. What the Insomniac leak also turned up was the fact that Bluepoint is working on a brand new IP. Now they're a porting essentially a remake studio for the longest time. They're working on a new IP of some sort. There was just one piece of key art that is now scratched from the link that we're looking at, but it's definitely out there. If people want to Google it, you'll find it. And that was about it, actually. In terms of the game, like the specific, here's what games are coming, that was it. Again, some cool finances and those sort of things. Somebody who really likes to learn about the finances of AAA and those sort of things and how this stuff works, it was really fascinating, especially when it got a big license involved. Potentially, I guess, as we start to cast the eye towards the 2024 part of it and the core part of what we're actually talking about today, there's supposedly some DLC for Spider-Man 2 that's coming. Free DLC. 3 pieces of it. Yeah.
Oh, three for
free. In fact, it's the old 3 for free. 3 for free.
3 for free.
Ooh.
What is going on with Sony and free DLC at the moment?
Let me see if I can find it. So, Beetle Infestation. It's Spider-Man 2 free DLC. There's an open world mission and a boss fight. There's Extreme Carnage, which I think is going to be the one that really bridges over to to Venom, specifically. There's Extreme Carnage, another open world boss fight. Open world missions and boss fight. And then there's a Spider-Verse Anomaly, which is going to be Spider-Verse NPCs and villains. There's a Spider-Verse mission and a Spider-Verse visual filter. All those are going to be coming out over the course of 2024, apparently. And I'm really keen in particular on the Carnage one, because the whole plot of this Venom thing is apparently going to be linked into Carnage. If you've played Spider-Man 2, you'll kind of know where the Carnage component is to the whole thing.
But it depends also too if you've done the side missions too. If you haven't done the side missions, then you're not going to understand.
You won't have a clue what's going on. But, based on the platinum rate for the game, it feels like most people are, doing all the side missions. So yeah, they're the 3 free pieces of DLC that are supposedly coming to Spider-Man 2 over the course of the year. All right, moving away from Insomniac, and I guess Blue Point now as well. 2024. The games we know that are coming at the moment. As of the day this goes live, my review, is it out or is it very close? My review for
19th. The 19th it comes out.
Is imminent. That's days away, and at this point I've already finished that. I've played a whole bunch of No Return, checked out all the Lost Level stuff that they've added. Check out my review on the Player 2 website for more information on that. There's Helldivers 2 in February, the 8th. Dangerous. Well, for a brief period, it looked like, because during the CES presentation, it said the 28th. And you're launching, you've pushed your release date back to the day before Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. But it turned out that was just a typo. So the 8th of Feb, they've got, I guess it's not their own internal exclusive, but they've got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for the 29th of Feb. They've got Rise of the Ronin locked in for sometime in March. Somewhere. Yeah, somewhere in March. I can't remember what it was.
I would say the 10th. Now. It is I do remember it because they had it in big writing saying 22nd.
22nd.
Was there a demo? Oh, no, I don't know if there was a demo or not. I can't remember.
I'm sure
might just be pre-order crap.
I feel like there will be. That would be a logical one to have a demo for, unlike Suicide Squad, which is probably a bad idea. Just keep that hidden from everyone.
It's more the question of Suicide Squad at the moment. Is it good or is it bad? And I don't know. People are saying, "Oh, it's really, really good," and other people go, "No, it's absolute rubbish."
Well, and then look at the strategy behind the whole thing. They had their closed alpha a while ago. Now I participated in that, and they've lifted the NDA, so I can actually talk about this now. They had the closed beta. I played that. Didn't think much of it, but all these people that clearly didn't understand what an NDA is and how it works just started shouting, "It's great! I'm having a great time!" Blah 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 blah. Nothing was ever going to happen to them because they're talking the game up. But then the previews come out, the official previews from your IGNs and Game Informers and GameSpots and all the big publications, and they start tearing strips off it. And so all of a sudden, 2-3 days later, Rocksteady's like, "That's okay, NDA people, just say whatever you want," because they've seen from the people who open their mouth when they shouldn't have, that for some reason, at least a small group of people think it's a pretty good game, and hopefully that just drowns out the negativity from the previews. This game's going to be in a bad place. And I can't wait to see how it plays out. And it's a shame, though, because I love Rocksteady.
So do I. It's just unfortunate they had to do a stupid 4-player co-op, multiplayer, online
pretty much
game. Which, if anyone knows, anytime it's a bad idea for that type of game. Like I said, it's never worked in the past. It's still not going to work now. Until someone comes in and goes, hey, you're doing it wrong. Do it like this. It's not going to be Bungie because they're in absolute shambles
They're just
as
trying.
we
Oh yeah,
speak.
and I guess that's another thing. Somewhere along the year, it won't be exclusive, but it is a PlayStation studio. Bungie will put out the Final Shape DLC for Destiny 2. So, beyond that, and we don't know a huge amount, but what else are we expecting from PlayStation this year? Then, what should we be expecting?
Oh, who knows?
They've only got.
They were very quiet last year. Well, they had Forspoken. That wasn't
Well,
very
they
good.
didn't even make that.
That,
But they locked it
that
down.
was the same with Final Fantasy 16. Also didn't make that. The only thing they had was Spider-Man 2. I could be wrong. I can't think off the top of my head what other first-party games they had. I don't think it was Last of Us Part 1. That came out last year or the year before, but I don't count that because that's just a remake.
Why am I? Was Gran Turismo the beginning of last year? Or was that 2022?
That was the movie. Wasn't the movie? Didn't the movie come out last year?
Yeah, movie was last year. They had. I've just checked now. So their exclusives for last year were Spider-Man 2. Sorry, their specific exclusives. So yeah, not made by anyone else. Spider-Man 2 and Horizon Call of the Mountain.
Oh, the VR.
That's it.
That no one played. I'm not being harsh. It's just no one bought
No
a
one played it
VR.
because not many people have bought VR. So yeah, they're relying on their third party exclusives, which is kind of cool strategy if you don't have much going on or whatever. You're in a tough spot. You lock down Final Fantasy VII, you lock down Rise of the Ronin, and then they kind of fill in the gaps where people can say, "But I can play this on PlayStation. You can't play it on Xbox," even though PlayStation didn't do anything more than throw money at whoever the company was, and that buys them time for sure. But
then you start scratching your head at what the hell's PlayStation Studios doing. Apart from Insomniac, we already know there. So, unfortunately, but what's happening with Naughty Dog? They're just remaking a game that came out 4 years ago.
Well, they are working on The Last of Us Part 3, and they are apparently working on something else. And they haven't even formally acknowledged The Last of Us Part 3, but like they've just been kind of backwards about it. They're saying it without saying it.
That's all right.
And
They
of course,
got
The Last
time
of Us
down.
multiplayer got cancelled. So
they got plenty of people to work on it now.
Yeah.
That's great. And then Sucker Punch. Haven't really heard from them for a while.
Surely we're up to Ghost 2 or whatever.
Should be. Unless they're just going to have a director's cut again, just for no reason whatsoever, or just do another pointless
of new footage
with what's the guy's name? Jin
Sakai. More of Jin's ass.
With more added Jin
Jin
cosmetics. More bamboo cutting. More foxes. More hot springs. All the stuff no one cares about.
All of your favourite parts of the game. There's more of it. So, yeah, I mean, look, Insomniac should be due, really. Sorry, not Insomniac. They're on the
Sucker Punch.
Sucker Punch. They're due, but I mean, could they possibly announce and release in the same year? Like, are we?
I don't think so, unless they are confident that the game is ready, which I don't think it would be, because they're more concerned about their PlayStation 5 controller driving a car than their actual games. Which I'm sort of scratching my head going, how long does that controller last whilst driving a car?
Does anyone remember the last time that someone tried to use a video game controller to try and
let's not go there. Let's not go there.
Drowned at the bottom of the ocean.
Don't think they. I'm not going
drowned
any further
or exploded.
Than that.
You know.
And it was a $30 controller. A $30 controller. People complain why they use the $30 controller. You want to know why they use the $30 controller? Because it works. It wasn't the controller that was the problem. Let's get that out of the way. It wasn't the controller. There were some other major issues with that exploration company that you can go Google it, because that's what the internet is for, and find out all about it. And the $30 controller.
Yeah. We keep going off tangent on some of the best ways. I'm loving it.
But it's funny enough when you said it did get used that I knew straight away what you're talking about. I thought, oh no. Because I'm trying to think of what's Elon Musk done this time, and then I realised he did use a controller. They just used a tennis ball and it broke a window for a bulletproof car. It wasn't a tennis ball. It wasn't a tennis ball, but it was just some normal ball that you would throw at any window, and it just broke it.
So Gorilla, could they be doing anything? Again, they're the Horizon team.
I don't know. Killzone. That's not going to happen. No shooters whatsoever.
Horizon multiplayer.
Oh, I don't want multiplayer.
Keep
I know.
Keep in mind, it's something they were developing. I have the footage. That's not like
Is
some
it
sort of
is it the
leverage
chess?
that's out
Is it
there.
like that chess? Whatever that chess game was, I forget what it's called
Oh,
because I
Machine
didn't care.
Strike? No, it was like a legit. They kind of had a very
What the hell would you do?
a bit more
What, just hunt
cartoony.
monsters?
Well, it just seems like Well, I mean, I
This
desperately.
is what
If they're gonna
Monster
do it
Hunter.
I
Monster Hunter with
desperately want it to
machines.
be. I would absolutely lose my shit if their multiplayer game is a Monster Hunter like. That would be unreal to, a bunch of people that aren't Aloys, you don't necessarily have all the same incredible tech, but you've got.
I want to go the drunk guy.
Beat up.
I want to be Aaron.
Yeah, I can get around that. But no, I think that's too soon for them too. They've also signed that deal with NCSoft, so the Guild Wars team, to work on something. And I can't remember. I think I sent you the screenshot of like the title.
I think it did.
No, Horizon. What was it called?
You wrote something, and that was it.
Horizon
No picture.
Skyline. No.
Skyline.
Sky.
Is it by Nissan? What's those little toy things?
Yeah, it's at the moment it's referred to as the Skyline project, but the way at face value you go, well, how do you know that's Horizon? Except that the logo got leaked out. Someone posted on like LinkedIn or something like that.
Oh yeah, out of all places to post something is LinkedIn. You absolute fool of a person.
Well, they would have they would have been doing what LinkedIn is kind of intended for, which is kind of talking about the things you're doing. But they've posted this logo. Which again, if you just see the name, you go Skyline Project, you go, how's that connected to Horizon? But when you actually see the logo, it's in the Horizon font. So, there you go. That's it. That's the Horizon game, and that's an NCSoft. So, yeah, that's a whole thing. It's too soon, I think, but can't rule it out. We are meant to see Concord. That was one of the multiplayer projects that was announced last year. Remember, there was the crime game. I've forgotten what that one was called.
Crime game.
It was a multiplayer one. It was one that was a bit like what's the one where you kind of break into.
You're talking about Payday, are you?
The one that was very Payday-like. There was that one that was announced. That's coming from the.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I can't remember
but then
it either.
There was Concord, which is one of the other teams that PlayStation had bought, and that was an online thing. But all you basically just saw was, I think it was like a gun on a table or something. But that.
Oh, yeah, they didn't show much. Yeah, I think I slowly remember it. It was just one of those things, just thinking like, why? What is the point of that trailer?
PvP multiplayer FPS from Firewalk Studios coming to PC and PS5.
Firewalk, yeah.
And yeah, it didn't really show a hell of a lot. Yeah, there was a gun sitting on a table. It's in space. That's about it. But supposedly on track for 2024.
No bears?
No bears.
No bears. No, don't care then. If there's no bears in space, hard pass.
And no bears for people like horny Baldur's Gate people to fuck either. So I'm sorry to let you down there. But people went nuts for that bear. And maybe went nuts on that bear. Anyway. So beyond that, I'm starting to run out of ideas. Like they've got to have stuff in the tank. Could the studio does Astrobot.
Another Astro game.
Yeah, I feel like we're due for that.
Another Sackboy game.
Yeah. Well, Media Molecule's a big question mark. They're in all sorts. They finally shut down all things Dreams, but were they working on something on the side? I don't know. They've also lost a bunch of key talent. So that's, I don't know. It feels like Bend doing Days Gone, did Days Gone. They're working on something else now. It's a new IP of some sort, which is good. New IPs are good. But, I mean, that was 2019. There was a bit of fuss that kind of extended into 2021. I think it's only been since about 2021 when they got started. So maybe they could announce it this year, but otherwise it's probably too soon. I'm wondering if this year could be another year where they are just relying on third-party exclusives for the most part to get them through. So more of your Final Fantasy Sevens and Rise of the Ronins, get them through to the end of this year, and then they can really go headlong into 2025, because they would have expected to have The Last of Us multiplayer out this year too, which is kind of a big hit for them to have killed that off.
It's all either, yes, third-party games or pointless technology, like, a controller that lasts 12 hours, which is probably what they should have had in the first
To
place.
begin with.
Not, oh, we probably should. But hey, Jim's not there anymore, so new buddy CEO's come up and gone, right, get a controller that lasts longer than 2 hours, because I can't drive to work, because my steering wheel's gone flat.
So just to, I found an article just to kind of, I guess, speed us along with some of these. So I'll rattle off some of the studios, and it's some of the ones that we've not discussed anyway. So Polyphony obviously put out Gran Turismo. They're not going to be putting out anything new anytime soon, but they'll continue supporting Gran Turismo 7, I'm sure. Team Asobi, which is the Astrobot team, so we've discussed them. Fire Sprite, we've discussed, because they did Call the Mountain. There's talk.
What about Foam Party?
Huh?
Foam
Party?
Party?
Foam Stars. Foam Stars.
Foam Stars.
That's a Square Enix job.
Oh, of course it is.
But it is, I think, PlayStation exclusive. So there's more multiplayer. But also, apparently it's good from people who went hands-on with it last
I know. It just looked bad in the trailer. Just looking at it, just going, no. And then people go, what are you talking about? It's great. Okay. Sure.
Yeah,
I believe you.
I'll wait and see on that one. Fire Sprite are the team who did Horizon Call the Mountain. They're supposedly working on maybe Twisted Metal. And considering that's, kind of in vogue, because the TV series it wasn't a great, like an all-timer sort of TV series, but a lot of people really enjoyed season 1, and I'll admit, so did I. So I think, and season 2 has been confirmed for that, so kind of a tie-in, a game that kind of launches in that window would be good strategically. Guerrilla Games we've touched on. Housemarque, so obviously they put out Returnal now. What's that? 2021?
So the release game, almost.
Yeah, 2021. That was 2021. So they're almost due. But
almost, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. It would be cool. London Studio announced a live service game, but it was a very cool sort of style, but it was just one piece of key art, if I remember. It was kind of set in London, but it really stylistic. Kind of seemed like it was pulling on fantasy, but pulling on sci-fi at the same time. It seemed like it could be something kind of cool. But again, it's live service, so who knows? Media Molecule we discussed. Savage Game Studios was which I think they've rebranded now, but they were the mobile game developer that they bought.
Oh, right.
So maybe there's something from them, but like won't mean a huge amount. Bend we've discussed. Bluepoint we've discussed. Firewalk, which was Concord. Haven, which is Jade Raymond's team. So again, Fair Games is the thing, but it's Fair Games with a $sign for an S.
That's not sus at all.
I love the style of that game, but again, it's live service, so who knows? Insomniac we've discussed in depth. Naughty Dog, San Diego studio does MLB, and we'll probably just continue to do MLB.
I completely forgot about that game, because it did come to Games Pass last year. I probably did, I just ignored it. Like, I'm not hitting a ball over and over again. I'd rather go play a cricket game and just whack the ball for 6.
Way more
Shane Warne cricket.
Just put it on PlayStation Plus Classic.
Yeah, at least have a good game on there that would make you want to go back to the top tier subscription service.
I mean, for me, I got some JRPGs in there lately, so I'm kind of cool with it. But yeah, I follow what you mean. And the last studio is Santa Monica, who've obviously just put out the Valhalla DLC for Ragnarok.
We're not going to see them for a long time.
Well, there was the talk that Corey, and because Corey wasn't actively involved in Ragnarok, there is the talk that Corey's actually had his own team for a while now, doing something else.
The Order? Journey 2.
If only. But so that's an option as well. And then the last thing there is Sucker Punch, who we've discussed. So we've pretty much covered all the studios. It does feel like they're just going to be relying on third parties again for another year, just to make sure they get through. And then maybe 2025 we start seeing, or like this year maybe start to see some announcements, but then next year some of these games roll out.
But it's also going to be interesting to see how the new CEO goes as well. I mean, it's not going to be.
Toki.
Well, it's not going to be too hard. Just if you can do anything better than old Jim, as long as he
Yeah.
doesn't have the personality of a fence post, you're off to a good start.
Jim leaves and suddenly on like live service games get cancelled everywhere. So I've also been told, and this is I'm not naming names and I'm not naming anything around this. I've also been told that the XDev team, which is kind of PlayStation's bits and bobs team that helps out anyone and everyone with just like additional resources and additional sort of stuff, is working on 4 different live service games with external teams. So think about like a Foam Stars. Now they're unannounced. Whatever these games are unannounced, but they're assisting, which means they've probably locked down another 4 games that kind of fit the Concord, Last of Us Online, Foam Stars, that sort of model where they're looking for that live service, Fortnite sort of model essentially. They're working on 4 of them, or assisting 4 other teams with them as well. So we could start to see some of these rolling out over the course of this year too, because I'm sure those games are at various stages of development.
I can't say I'm very excited for live serving games. It's going to be interesting to see how long they last.
Yeah, well, I think the thing Jim was going for, and I guess PlayStation, I guess full all up was kind of going for, you only need one of these games to hit. Like if you put 10 of them out and one of them hits, like to an Apex level, even I'm not going to go all the way to the top of Fortnite, but let's say to an Apex level, then you make all that money back from all those 10 games. You get all that money back and then some, because it'll just keep feeding the beast for years to come. So I think that's
keep selling suckers, pointless cosmetics, and they're gonna buy them.
Exactly. So that's an option for them. The last thing that we should probably discuss, just to ensure we're not being ignorant to news that's kicking around, is the Xbox component in this whole thing. Because have you seen the news from this week about Sea of Thieves and whatchamacallit?
Hi-Fi Rush.
Hi-Fi Rush. Have you seen the news about both of those?
Well, was there some rumor that they'll come into other platforms?
Yeah, and kind of pretty reputable people like your Jeff Grubbs and those sorts of people, and who else was? I've forgotten his name. Stephen Totillo, a whole bunch of proper journalist people,
actual journalists,
not people who just make up shit on their Twitter feed and hope something sticks.
Google it within 5 seconds and go, that'll do.
Have all come out and said that Xbox is looking to bring the likes of Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush over to other platforms like PlayStation and Switch. So,
wasn't it with the Hi-Fi Rush thing that they never really hit it, that it was only a Xbox exclusive? It had like the other PlayStation logos and
so it was actually the Australian ratings board that kind of revealed it back in 2022, and it was a couple of months before the game was then announced and released like the next day or the same day or
the bloody intern.
It was just the ratings board. Like it was submitted now. It was a weird one because it listed every platform under the sun, right down to like USB was listed as a platform.
Was the Sega Dreamcast on there as well?
No. So not everything, I guess. But yeah, like that listed Switch, PlayStation. That was in like October of 2022 or something.
Was the Google Stadia on there, or Stadia?
Or Stadia.
Or Stadia, or the Google goggles.
Australian ratings board, and what was it? Why do I keep Hi-Fi Rush?
It's not Hi-Fi. Just think of High Five, and just
1, 2, 3, 4. Hi-Fi. Anyway.
Hi-Fi.
Classification date. Oh, something's different about it because it says February 1st, 2023.
Oh, they must have changed. They must have changed it.
Oh no, there we go. Other versions: PS4, Switch, online mobile, Xbox One, arcade. 15th of December 2022, which was about a month before the game came out, which is a normal sort of timeline. But it was before the game was even announced, and then released the same day. So we can maybe expect some of those, which might mean other Xbox exclusives. It really just cracks the door open for that stuff now. We've got the Xbox showcase coming up. So Indiana Jones is going to be there. Does that show? Because, it's Marvel, it's Disney, and they'll want to make their money. There's a bit there to kind of work through. I don't think we necessarily need to dive too deeply into it because we can probably save some of that for Xbox and what's kind of going on with them.
Because otherwise we're going to have nothing to talk about Xbox.
Well, they'll have their showcase only days before we record, at least. So we've got them, but yeah, it's a weird circumstance for Xbox. It's a weird one for PlayStation. Any thoughts, those, to, I guess, what that would mean if they did come across, specifically for PlayStation, as opposed to what does it mean for Xbox? We'll deal with that.
More money. Episode. That's money. That's all it is all these days, is just money. It's not, oh, hey, let's make a great game. No, it's like, let's just get these suckers money. And that's it. Don't even know if it's good. Just get those sucker money. Like, 19 inches of Venom. $400. Those suckers will buy it. Some suckers. Not all. The funny thing is, looking at that, it looks like he's trying to pull that Master Sword out with great difficulty.
Yeah,
or he's about to pull it out.
Venom is whipping out his 16 inches of cock. But anyway, in the shape of a sword.
It's a sensor.
Yeah. I need to rearrange these things, I think. Anyway, any other thoughts at all about PlayStation this year?
No. Hopefully they release something good. Excited, so that I can play my PlayStation this year, because at the moment, it might be collecting dust.
I mean, it won't be for me because I still mainly play on PlayStation, but at the same time, there's a bit of me that kind of hopes that it is quiet. I hope it's quiet for them. I hope it's quiet for Xbox. I hope it's quiet for Nintendo. I hope it's quiet for everyone, and I can just focus on the backlog. I wouldn't complain if.
Oh, it wouldn't bother me either.
Of, this February-March period, it has a fair few games, February in particular. But then after that, it's pretty slim pickings, and I kind of hope that it stays that way. I hope that they don't, that they were banking on The Last of Us multiplayer to kind of be the big thing for the back half of the year, and that's fallen through, so there's nothing there, and I don't know, there's a lot of stuff carrying over from 2023 that I still want to get to. So I know that's a purely selfish thing, and it's probably not good for PlayStation themselves, but I'm in it for me, not the corporate.
Yeah, so they can bring out their Spider-Man 2 Game of the Year edition, because...
Well, that'll come out at the end of the year.
Well, because I just laughed because they had their little PlayStation awards of best game, this, that, whatever. Spider-Man pretty much took out every prize, every award. So won best shooter, best first person.
It's almost I just laughed.
I just laughed. I thought that was the most stupidest things. Like, best story, best sound, best music. Like, no. Let's be honest. Alan Wake 2 had better sound and music, as everyone has seen. Not Spider-Man. I'm sorry, but Spider-Man 2 is Spider-Man 2 is a great game, but unfortunately, in those areas, other games did better.
It's an amazing game in a year where there was even
better games.
Even better games that came out.
If it came out in 2022, still would have lost.
Yeah.
2021, yeah, it would have won. It would have absolutely destroyed the competition, because the game of the year of that year was It Takes Two. So I'm pretty sure
it would have had a decent chance. Yeah.
Would have had a decent chance.
Well,
even this year, they could have released it this year. Could have released it this year. They would have won it fair and square, because there is nothing that you would say this year that's a game of the year contender.
Well, I mean, I'm already thinking about 2025 now, and we know that Monster Hunter's coming out. We know that Venom's coming out. And we know that Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming out. There's 3 mega games already.
That's only 3.
That's 3. And that's no Nintendo, and we've got we're going to have an episode dedicated to Nintendo coming up. The Xbox exclusives are starting to come down the pipeline.
Just thinking about Nintendo as well, because they could come in with an absolute mystery box of handheld device.
Yeah. So
we don't know yet.
But we'll talk about that in a dedicated Nintendo episode probably next week. I don't know. We've got a debrief on what we should do with Xbox, and we'd also kind of locked in Jamie to join us for to talk about Nintendo.
Oh, yes.
If we shuffle the date to suit, does that... Yeah, I don't know. We'll work through some of that stuff anyway. We'll wrap things up there, though, for this episode. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. All the buttons down below. Visit the website, player2.net.au, for a whole bunch of cool stuff there, written, video, podcasts, etc. Visit the Patreon, patreon.com/player2, player2au. What?
Are you okay?
Player2au. I had to look in the corner there to double check what it was. I start to muddle my Patreons up now because I have to start thinking about my own for Dev Diary.
Let's say, is King Kong Ding Dong still?
I
I mean, that's a name we haven't mentioned in a long time.
Classic deep cut. So yeah, go check out the Patreon, and finally there's Twitter. Matto.
Matto_Phil.
Paul James Games for myself. The website is Player2AU. And until next week, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you later to talk about Nintendo or Xbox.